Kim Garam's career in the superstar group sserafim was over in just 18 days. At first, it looked like a classic case of anti-fan behavior, a messy storm of online rumors and accusations that most people were quick to dismiss. But it wasn't the rumors that sealed her fate. It all came down to one single document. This is the story of the one piece of evidence that the powerhouse agency HYBE just couldn't deny, and how it unraveled their entire defense of an idol they seemed so determined to protect. In early 2022, the K-pop world was buzzing. HYBE, the agency behind the global phenomenon BTS, was about to launch a new girl group under its label Source Music. The group's name was sserafim, and the hype was off the charts. With two former members of the beloved group Iswan, Sakura and Chaewon in the lineup, success felt practically guaranteed. One by one, the members were revealed, and on April 5, 2022, the world met Kim Garam. The trouble started almost immediately. But before we get into the chaos, you have to understand the stakes. sserafim wasn't just another debut. It was a major power move from one of the biggest companies in K-pop. Their debut EP, Fearless, went on to set a new record at the time for a girl group's debut album in first-week sales. They were perfectly positioned as the industry's next big thing, a group of strong, fearless young women. And right at the center of it all was Kim Garam. The company had seemingly invested millions and its whole reputation in these 6 girls. That's why, when the first whispers of trouble started, their response was so aggressive. The initial accusations. Just hours after she was introduced, anonymous posts started flooding Korean online forums. These weren't just vague insults. They were specific allegations of school bullying, complete with unflattering pre-debut photos and claims of underage drinking and smoking. One post from someone claiming to be a former classmate said Garam regularly harassed younger students. The internet did its thing, and the rumors spread like wildfire, threatening to throw the group's huge debut off the rails before it even began. On April 6, HYBE and Source Music dropped their first official statement. It was a total denial. They insisted the allegations were doctored and that actually Kim Garam had been a victim of bullying herself. They didn't just deny the rumors. They declared war on them, announcing they were taking legal action against anyone spreading false information. It was a classic K-pop crisis strategy. Deny, deflect, and threaten to sue, and for a second, it seemed to be working. With the full force of HYBE behind her, sserafim debuted as planned on May 2, 2022, with Kim Garam right there on stage. The public was stuck in a she said situation, anonymous internet users versus a billion-dollar company. Who were you going to believe? But this wasn't the end. This was just the beginning of HYBE's massive miscalculation. The victim's law firm speaks. Things took a serious turn on May 15th. This was when the scandal jumped from online forums into the real world. A law firm named Darian released a detailed statement for an alleged victim, who they called Yoo Eun-seo to protect her identity. According to Darian, Yoo Eun-seo was a victim of school violence from Kim Garam and her friends back in 2018. The statement described the trauma Eun-seo went through, which they claimed continued even after Garam's debut, causing severe anxiety and reportedly leading to a suicide attempt. This changed everything. It was no longer an anonymous person online. It was a law firm staking its professional reputation on these claims, and they came with a warning. They had evidence. Specifically, they mentioned a notice of the results of the Autonomous Committee for School Violence Countermeasures. HYBE shot back almost immediately, calling Darian's statement one-sided and regretting that a law firm would publicize an issue involving minors. They stuck to their original story, that the whole thing was started by false rumors and that Garam was the real victim. But the cat was out of the bag. There was an official document, and it wasn't long before it leaked. The unraveling, the School Violence Committee document. On May 16, 2022, the bomb dropped. A picture of a document started making the rounds online. The title was Notice of School Violence Committee Results, dated 2018. It clearly listed the name of the perpetrator, Kim Garam from Year 1, Class 3. This was it. The physical evidence the law firm had been talking about. But what made this so devastating for HYBE was a very specific detail: the disciplinary action. The notice said action would be taken against the perpetrator under Article 17 of the Act on the Prevention of and Countermeasures Against Violence in Schools. Kim Garam had received a Level 5 disposition. So, what exactly is a Level 5 disposition? In the South Korean school system, punishments for school violence are broken down into 9 levels. Level 1 might involve a written apology to the victim. Levels 2 through 4 can include things like community service or restraining orders. But level 5 is a major step up. It requires the student to complete a special educational course or psychological treatment, and often involves their parents as well. It's seen as a serious measure for cases that go far beyond minor fights. While expulsion, level 9, is the highest punishment, it is exceptionally rare for middle schoolers, making a school transfer, level 8, one of the most severe practical outcomes. Level 5 sits firmly in that serious upper tier of punishment. This was the smoking gun. I would brush off online posts, but they couldn't ignore an official school document. Their whole story, that Garam was purely the victim, now seemed impossible. If she was the victim, why was she the one hit with a level 5 punishment by a formal committee? The company scrambled. On May 20th, they put out a long, detailed statement. For the first time, they admitted that a school violence committee meeting did happen. They tried to reframe the story, arguing that Garam was only defending a friend whose private photo had allegedly been shared by UNCO. They claimed Garam's actions were just a non-violent confrontation where she cursed at the other student. The statement even suggested Garam's mother chose not to appeal the level 5 decision because she thought the mandatory counseling might be helpful for her daughter. But it was too little too late. The damage was done. The public had seen the document. The term level 5 was now permanently attached to Kim Garam's name. The contradiction was just too big. How could Hive have claimed Garam was the victim with such certainty, when they apparently knew an official committee had investigated and disciplined her as a perpetrator? Their credibility was shot. The aftermath and departure. The public backlash was huge. Hashtags demanding Garam's removal from the group trended for days. The perfect image of sserafim was now stained by a scandal that the company appeared to have handled with deception. Just 18 days after her official debut on May 20, 2022, Hive and Source Music announced Kim Garam would take a temporary hiatus to heal her wounded heart. sserafim would go on as a 5-member group. The break was called temporary, and for a while, the company dug in its heels. But the pressure just kept building. Every time the group appeared, the scandal overshadowed their performance. Finally, 2 months later, it was over. On July 20, 2022, Hive and Source Music released a short, blunt statement. Our company has decided to terminate the exclusive contract with Kim Garam. They apologized for the controversy but offered no more details. Kim Garam was officially out of sserafim. The speed of this downfall is a wild reminder of how fast things can change in K-pop, especially when there's credible evidence on the table. These situations are always messy, with more than one side to the story. If you enjoy these deep dives that look past the headlines, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell for more breakdowns on the industry's biggest moments. Months later, Kim Garam released her own statement through a friend's Instagram, sharing her side and the full school violence report. She maintained she was never physically violent, but admitted to acting immature and childish, while trying to defend a friend. Hive, having already cut ties, simply replied they had nothing to say. Looking back, the Kim Garam scandal is a perfect case study in how not to manage a crisis. Plenty of idols have faced anonymous online attacks, but this was different. It wasn't the first wave of rumors that ended her career. It was the existence of one verifiable official document, the notice of a level 5 disposition, that directly blew up her company's impressive defense. It proved that something had happened, and it was serious enough for a school committee to step in and hand down a major punishment. Hive's attempt to paint a simple black and white picture of Garam as the sole victim backfired completely when this complicated and damning piece of evidence surfaced. It shattered public trust and made their position impossible to hold. This whole situation leaves us with a big question. Do you think Hive could have saved her career by being more honest from the start, or was the evidence just too much for a brand new idol to overcome? Let me know what you think in the comments below.